Anthropic just published a study about its own Claude AI, not a prediction, but a study using actual Claude conversations, millions of them,
from real enterprise users doing real work, measuring exactly which professional tasks
AI is already handling today. The company that builds one of the most widely used AI tools in the world looked at its own usage data and asked, what are we actually replacing? The answer is worth paying attention to. Most research on AI and jobs works from the outside in. Researchers look at a list of tasks, assess whether AI could theoretically do them, and build a risk score for each occupation. It's a reasonable approach, but theoretical capability and actual usage are two very different things. A study in the early 2000s used similar logic to flag roughly a quarter of U.S. jobs as vulnerable to offshoring. A decade later, most of those jobs were growing.
Anthropic did something different. They measured observed exposure from within. Not what Claude could do, but what Claude is already doing.
Most studies have been predicting. This one looked at the actual receipts. The numbers are specific, and they're worth knowing. Computer programmers, 74% of their tasks already showing observed AI coverage. Customer service representatives, 70%. Data entry, 67%. Medical records specialists, 66%. Market research and marketing specialists, 64%. And the gap between what AI can theoretically do and what it's already doing is still enormous. For computer and math roles, theoretical capability sits at 94%. Observed usage is at 33%. For office and admin, theoretical is 90%. Observed is 40%. That gap isn't a sign that the disruption is overstated. That gap is the next wave, still arriving.
As Anthropic's own researchers put it, as capabilities advance and adoption deepens, the observed coverage grows to fill the theoretical. We're watching the early part of that process, not the end of it.
When the researchers looked at who sits in the most exposed professions, the most exposed group earns 47% more on average than the workers AI isn't touching. They are more likely to be college educated. People with graduate degrees make up nearly 18% of the most exposed group and less than 5% of the unexposed group. The workers AI is reaching first are the ones who invested the most in being irreplaceable. Through degrees, training, credentials. That's not a flaw in the data. That's the finding. White-collar, knowledge-based, credential-heavy work turns out to be, in many cases, more legible to AI than physical, in-person, trade-based work, because language models work with language. And the work that happens in offices, on screens, in documents, in analysis, is almost entirely made of language. The bartender pouring drinks, the electrician running wire, the cook behind the line. Zero observed AI exposure, their tasks barely register in the data. The financial analyst, the market researcher, the software developer, the medical records specialist. These are the professions sitting at the top of the list. The unemployment numbers, as of today, haven't moved. The researchers are clear about that. No meaningful increase in joblessness for highly exposed workers yet. But there's a different signal in the data, quieter, and in some ways more alarming. Among workers aged 22 to 25, in the most AI-exposed occupations, the rate at which they're being hired has dropped 14% since ChatGPT launched. That effect doesn't show up at all for workers over 25. Entry-level roles in white-collar careers were never just jobs. They were the training ground, the place where someone who knows the theory learns to do the work, where a junior analyst becomes a senior one, where a junior lawyer figures out how arguments actually hold together in practice.
If that layer quietly contracts, the profession doesn't just shrink. It loses the training ground that creates the next generation of experienced professionals. Nobody has fully answered the question of what replaces that. This isn't a prediction. It's already in the data.
The first thing to say is that none of this means your career is over. The same report that produced these findings found no measurable unemployment impact yet. The disruption is showing up in projections and hiring patterns, not mass displacement yet. But the risk profile of white-collar income has shifted. That's what the data is showing. And when the risk profile of your active income shifts, the logic for building income that doesn't depend on your active labor gets stronger. Most people think about passive income when things are comfortable. Build it eventually. Get to it later. If you're in an exposed profession, the question worth asking isn't whether AI will affect your field. The study's already showing you the evidence that it will. The question is whether your financial life is built to absorb a shift in how much your specific skills are worth over the next decade. That might mean investing consistently in broad index funds. It might mean building assets outside your primary income stream. It might mean paying more attention to where your money is going and how it should work for you. None of those things require certainty about what happens next. They just require a serious response based on what the data is already showing you. The workers with the most exposure aren't the ones who skipped the education. They're the ones who pursued it most seriously. That's not a reason to feel defeated. It's a reason to pay attention. Because the financial question this raises isn't really about AI. It's about what you've built underneath your income. Whether the thing that pays you is the only thing working for you. Whether your money has a job when you're not in the room.
The data came from the company building the AI tool. They published it anyway. That says something. And the question it leaves you with is simpler than it might seem. If your career is more exposed than you thought, what else are you building to secure your future?
If this video helped you, consider subscribing. You can also like, comment, or share. See you in the next video.